All right, we'll call the council meeting to order and no one is excused. And so item 3 is the adoption of the minutes. Clarence moves the adoption of the minutes. All in favor? Opposed? Motion is carried. Call for post-agenda items. Kelly.
Could I have a discussion in camera? I believe it falls under land.
Okay, so noted. Anything else? All right, could we get a motion to adopt the agenda, please? Hubie moves. All in favor? Opposed? Tracy, did I miss your hand up earlier? No? Okay, perfect.
I was going to approve the agenda.
Thank you. All right, we are at question period, notice of motion. So we'll pause for a short time, knowing that we can take anything at any time. Just having a look over our agenda today, we have delegations at 11 and at 11:30. And Maria, do we just have, are you just on the agenda the one time today, 7.1? Or is there something else we could do as well today for you somewhere else? I don't think so.
No, just the land use amendment.
Perfect. All right. We will carry on then. Item 7.1 is a land use amendment as noted by Maria. So take it away, Maria.
Okay, thank you, Madam Reeve. This is an application to redesignate the subject lands from agriculture to acreage residential to accommodate a proposed subdivision. So these lands are in Division 8, about 5 kilometers east of the village of Dutches. So the applicant would like to subdivide an approximate 3-acre parcel of land from a 60-acre parcel. The subdivision would contain a proposed dwelling, or an existing dwelling, pardon me. So this subdivision would be considered the 6th parcel out of this quarter section. So in agriculture land use district, the number of parcels allowed on an unsubdivided quarter section is limited to 2, which is why the land use redesignation to acreage residential. This land use district allows for a maximum of 10 lots on a quarter section. The neighboring parcels are in the agriculture land use district as well as the acreage residential land use district. It is recommended by staff that first reading be given to bylaw 2011-21 to redesignate these portions of land.
Thanks, Maria. Do we have any questions from anyone? Otherwise, we'll take a motion or a question. Ellen?
Motion for first reading.
Ellen has moved the motion for first reading. Seeing no other hands or questions, I will call the question. All in favor? Opposed? Motion is carried. Thank you, Maria. Sounds like you could have some other delegations today in your house, so we'll let you carry on.
Thank you very much. Sorry about that background noise. Have a great meeting.
It's pretty normal these days. It's not a bad thing. Thanks, Maria. All right, we will go on to Mr. Green's agricultural fieldman's report, please.
Again, I have a wonderful report for you today. It's snowing, and it's May long weekend. Emerson opened up this morning, and I seen an interesting thing the other day at the why May is called May, because it may rain, it may snow, it may be windy. I don't know. I thought it was hilarious, and you know what? We're gonna take it, because 2 days ago it was so windy we had more soil blowing around, and today it is stuck, and I'm loving it. But some other great news for you. We are sold out of strychnine. We were happy to get rid of our last bottles, just because we wouldn't be stuck holding the inventory. We have lots of guys still looking for it. We are unable to get a bunch more right now. But if something changes, we certainly will bring some more in. Our drills have been busy. The guys have been moving them. Doesn't matter when. If it's a Sunday morning and they need to move, those guys will be out there moving them. So the acres are kind of off just because of the way when we write these things. But we're moving drills around. We've had some livestock equipment moving around. This is when cows go to pasture. So the loading chute, some calf table stuff for brandings, and of course the scale typically for 4-H weigh-ins and such. We've had some traps, but mostly guys and girls, I guess. We've been selling lots of traps in the last year, so our rentals have been going down, but we sell lots, so happy to see that. And of course, in the report, I put down that our barbecue has had 0 renters. And that's unfortunate, because we bought that barbecue for big celebrations, family events, community events, and of course we can't have those. So we are planning to survey everything again: clubroot, fusarium, grasshoppers, bacterial ring rot, and we're going to do a little bit of virulent blackleg this summer. This is our second year of a 3-year CAP grant program, so the CAP grant does pay for fusarium and clubroot surveying, so we're happy about that. We have been spraying some downy brome, inspecting for it. The early weeds, of the regulated weeds anyways, downy brome and hoary cress, we've been out doing that work and doing some control work, so happy to see that getting dead. We're geared up, ready for roadside spraying. Typically, we kick that off, the road shoulder spraying is our first go-to of the season. Get all the kinks out of the sprayers, and then we get on to spraying about 600 miles of our roads and secondary highways. So excited to get that going. I think Emerson is set to have a record year. Super excited about the amount of phone calls we've been having about it. I didn't talk to Will this morning, but we anticipated opening up the gates a little bit early and allowing people to drive into the park, just because of the amount of people that told us that they would be sitting at the gate waiting to camp this weekend, which when you look outside, that's an odd thing to think about, but that's what's happening. Hamlet Subdivision Airport's contract mowing, we've started outside of today. They've been getting through their first pass. I think everything's looking pretty good. In the past, we've done a little bit of spraying in our hamlets and anywhere really that we mow to kind of keep the weeds down. I think they've done a good job. So it's mostly just mowing grass right now. Yeah, what do we got? Playground inspections. Tina is our new playground inspector. We had a really hard time the last few seasons trying to get a third-party inspector in. So we kind of bit the bullet, and Tina has got herself certified as an inspector. We're super happy about that. She spent, I'm going to say it was 3 afternoons just taking the training on, how to go about it, what are the actual rules, the distances between things, what to look for. And she was pleasantly surprised at how much stuff she learned, even though she's been doing our inspections informally for the last few years. So anyways, yeah, that's that. Municipal partnerships rolling along really well. We started in the city and grasslands Tuesday. So grasslands public schools, they've been out, so we were happy to be able to get in there with no kids. So we were able to do the work during the day instead of in the evenings and the weekends, which is always nice. And then the city spraying, we try to get that out of the way early because it's a pretty big job and it takes a pretty big crew. So we did end up with 6 new faces this season, 2 in the weed inspecting crew and 4 in our general labor group. You know what? I haven't spent a lot of time with them, but everybody always has smiling faces behind their masks. And I think they're all going to be great teammates. And I love welcoming new people to our Ag Services family. So that's about all I have for you today.
Thank you, Todd. My first comment is that I think it's just wonderful initiative and great problem solving to decide that when you don't have somebody who can look after playground infrastructure, to take it into your own hands and have someone on staff that can do that. That's wonderful. Thank you to you and to Tina, both for your leadership and initiative. Other questions, comments? Hubie.
Yes, Todd, the strychnine, is there more coming, and what would be the holdup why you can't get any more? That's it?
Yeah, good question, Hubie. I probably haven't talked about it enough, but PMRA has canceled the registration for strychnine. Sorry, they have not canceled the registration. They've changed the label. So we can't actually use strychnine for ground squirrels anymore. That's the part that they took off the label, is the ground squirrels, which of course Richardson ground squirrels are gophers. That's the part that they changed on the label, and that makes it illegal after 2023 to use strychnine for control of Richardson ground squirrels. That's the part that PMRA has changed. And the province of Alberta, the province of Saskatchewan, and us as Ag Service Boards have been pushing to get that decision reversed. But from what I understand, PMRA has decided there is too much potential for secondary poisonings. So whether that be a hawk or maybe a burrowing owl or some mice, some songbirds, secondary poisoning is basically anything that's not a Richardson ground squirrel that you're trying to poison.
Okay, thanks, Todd.
Yeah, you betcha.
Other questions? Lionel.
First of all, love your picture of the hawk nest. That was great. And next, that wind on Tuesday, there was a lot of dirt in the air. Did you find some movement on the ground, or anything that bothered us?
This is an interesting time of year to get a significant wind event because there's really nothing. Sorry, I shouldn't say nothing we can do, but to answer your question, yeah, we had some movement. Where our construction crews were cleaning out the roadside ditch. We actually shut the one contractor down, and he had to move back up the ditch a little bit to clean out what happened on Tuesday. So it's unfortunate, but everything is ready to grow. It's just not there yet. And this is a difficult time of year. And I know we've talked about a lot of things, soil erosion, and I don't want to say there's nothing that can be done this time of year, but I don't know how to say this properly. I just think there's a lot of things that led up to why every time the wind blows, we have soil movement. We needed this snow. We need a little bit of rain, and we need things to green up to get out of this pattern. And I'm really hoping that going forward, we won't see this every time the wind blows again. But yes, we did.
Well, you have your committee established, so we can possibly figure out some methods of helping this situation in the future, hopefully. And I know even on my own place, it blew some of my carrots out.
You know, it's I don't know all of the answers, and that's what I think is going to be the absolute best part of working with the landowners on this is their practical experience with all of these things is just going to be, to me, that's the light at the end of the tunnel is grabbing their experience and making some changes. And I'm not going to be anybody's best friend for the next 5 years, and I think I've come to terms with that. But I think we have to. We have to make some changes, right? And we see a lot of heavy land use, a lot of heavy tillage, and it's time to make an adjustment to how we leave things going into the fall, I think.
You have enough good heads together, they'll come up with some solutions. So
Yeah.
and it will happen.
But to your first comment, I was really pumped about the Hawk's Nest working also. We haven't seen them out in the other areas, but this one at the county is right at our building here is just fantastic. I think Joe said he deleted a whole bunch also, but there was 300 or 400 pictures of those two hawks making the nest on the perch, eating a gopher. I mean, it was fantastic. And I don't know if council has the one specific drive that we saved those in, but it was really neat to see, because of course those cameras take a picture every time there's movement. So you could see the hawks bringing up the material for their nest. You could see them when they were, I don't know. Anyways, it was exciting to see it all. So. Someday I'll show you all the pictures in council, just like I showed you that wonderful video of the soil erosion concerns, and it's going to blow you away. It's going to be awesome. And you have a slow council meeting today, so I'm taking up lots of your time, and I apologize.
No apologies needed. Wayne and Clarence.
Todd, on these hawk nests, is the county in the position to sell them to landowners, or is it just plans that you're giving out?
They're actually not even our plans, Wayne. We copied a plan off of, I can't even remember the company. It was a power company that we stole the idea from. But yeah, we would absolutely give you the plans to build them. They're super easy. If you have a power pole, it's literally like 4 2x4s and a little bit of mesh. So that's very easy to do. We'd be happy to build them for you, but of course it's not free if we do it that way. So
yeah, I'll get those plans. I've got a couple poles here I'd like to put in the ground to see if it'll work. I've got a lot of gophers too, so
I'll send them to you.
Clarence?
I guess just a question, Todd, on the committee on soil erosion. We're talking about wind. Do we also consider water erosion? And I think both man-made and cloudbursts are probably part of it.
Yeah,
do we treat those the same way, or are we talking about that at all? It's not as prevalent as wind is, but probably just, quite frankly, just as much out of our control sometimes as wind is. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Erosion is erosion. And you're right. We don't typically see the water erosion like other areas might. But if that was a problem, we would have to work with that for sure. We don't have the rushing waters that other areas of the province or country, I guess, do.
No, and we don't have as much of it as we used to when everything was flood irrigated, and there's lots of streams of water that weren't controlled by the Eastern Irrigation District, but just controlled by farmers. I mean, that certainly has gotten less, but so has wind erosion gotten less. Though you'd never know it from the other day, but it just again proves that you can do everything right and it still can go wrong. And that's what I'm having a real difficulty with in this whole thing.
It's not I tried to, the conversations that I've had, it's not a blame game. It's not a point your finger at your neighbor game. It's just, we've just been very lucky over the last 15, 20 years that are some of the things that we've done in our fields and to grow crops, they haven't created problems. And then now we're in a different cycle and it is maybe creating a problem. And we just have to adjust. And I've had so many conversations, and I think probably out of everything that's happened within these last 2 months, it's just been eye-opening for me that every time the wind blows, that I have people talking to me, and I have people sending me pictures and explaining to me what happened and apologizing. And there's no reason to apologize. We can't control Mother Nature, but we can control what we do. And I think just the sheer education of it all and how many people talk to me now, it's phenomenal. The other day I was actually, Brian in his side gig did some great fertilizing and grass seeding for me. And when I was harrow packing, that was on the Tuesday, and the wind was blowing and my phone was blowing up. Like, there was just so many people, and I thought it was phenomenal to have those conversations on a really crappy day. And I think we're making progress on it, even without doing anything, to be honest. And publicly, thank you, Brian, for your side gig. That was really wonderful.
All keeping a positive tone, which is always important. And especially these days, the blame game is a pretty common and popular one. So it's a good one to break away from. Brian and Lionel?
It's about whether you have any information as far as the farmers moving to no-till, or I mean, we have the drills, but I don't know if that's a good measuring tool as far as, because they're limited to how many acres you do, and you know, as farms get bigger, a lot those same guy that we might have used that no-till drill 10 years ago is now got too much land for it to fit into his system, so he's either bought his own or gone to something different. So I'm curious about maybe just your opinion on the transition, I'll call it, from conventional drills to no-tills, as far as what you see in your travels around the county, and how, you know, I think it has moved. I'm not sure to what extent. You've probably seen it for over a longer period of time than me. My area is a little different, but yeah, just your thoughts on the no-till component.
Yeah, I think you always have to be cautious when you ask me for my opinion, Brian, because I have a lot of them. No, I'm just joking. No-till is great for soil conservation. It's great for water conservation. It's a lot of no-till stems back to utilizing the soil moisture at the best time of the year. And the thing about irrigation, as we all know, is you don't have to rely on Mother Nature as much for that moisture. So the areas that you might use no-till for are less prevalent here than they are probably in other areas. So I think we have some great no-till farmers. We have a lot of no-till type discs out there. We see a lot of single shoot, single disc systems, but they're not typically all used in a no-till type situation. I'd say in the county of Newell, we are probably somewhere between 50 and 70% reduced tillage or min-till, something like that, but not. I wouldn't say we have a lot of completely zero-till farmers.
Lionel?
I'm going to change my comment a little bit. You're talking about no-till, and we tried zero-till, and that was very difficult in the irrigation because of you know, a lot of cases we want to go to permanent forage, and their fields get too rough, and so we need to till once in a while. It does. It almost seems to be a necessity, but minimum till I do agree with, absolutely.
Yeah, and that's a good comment. There's multiple reasons why we have to go back into a field and do a little tillage. And I think when zero till was kind of the buzzword, that was seen as a negative. But I think minimum tillage is really, I mean, it clicks all the or checks all the boxes, right? Reduce diesel fuel, reduce time, and then does a lot of great work at the same time. So, yeah. It's a good comment, Lionel, for sure.
Lionel?
One of the hardest things for me to get used to was not being on the plow all fall, and then smooth it out the fields after, and then in the spring not having to irrigate, not understanding why there was so much moisture when we didn't till.
Some good discussion. All right. I see no other hands up. So thank you, Todd, for your report. And can we get a motion to accept that report? Anne-Marie will move. Thanks, Anne-Marie. All in favor? Opposed? That motion is carried. We have time to probably start on the administrative business, the Municipal Stimulus Program revised project. Lane is available. Welcome, Lane. Good morning. I'll let you take it away.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So we're in a rather interesting situation. The government of Alberta had made funding available to encourage municipalities to get some projects carried out in 2021 as a part of the effort to stimulate the economy. And the project that was originally applied for by the County of Newell was to move ahead with upgrading and paving a section of Range Road 145 adjacent to the city of Brooks. Unfortunately, we're not able to move ahead with that project because there has been some challenges encountered in acquiring the additional right-of-way that would be necessary in order for that road to proceed as it should be constructed. What we're asking council to consider at this point is consideration of some alternative options for moving ahead with the use of the funding that's been made available. The dollar amount in question is $894,371. That is the county's allocation under the municipal stimulus program. And one of the critical things with the project is that it needs to be completed by year's end 2021. So we're going to be limited as to what we can take on this late in the process. What we're suggesting is that council give consideration to moving ahead with a solar PV energy generation system that would provide power for the county administration facility. And there's some other facilities in the nearby vicinity of the county's administration complex as well that power could be used at. Fortunately, we're in a situation where there was an effort that was made a couple of years ago to move ahead with a similar project under a different program. And that particular project was not considered as one of the shortlisted programs under that original funding stream. So some of the effort that has gone into that initial application submission a couple of years ago has laid a foundation for this particular project if council is prepared to consider it. What we would encourage council to do is give consideration to moving ahead with a project that could certainly be delivered on within the time period that has been set down by the government of Alberta for the use of these funds. The information has been circulated to council in the agenda package. If there is some questions, we can certainly try to answer those at this point, but would encourage council to move ahead with the decision to try and redirect the funding under that municipal stimulus project.
Thanks, Lane. Just for clarification also, Lane, this government money was from the province. It had to be for a project that wasn't on our 2021 capital plan either, correct?
That's right. It's a project that wasn't in the queue, would not have otherwise been done by funds that the county had available. This certainly is one of those projects that was not in the budget, not anticipated, because we just didn't have the funds available for it.
Correct. And so we felt the paving of the road north from carrying on from the bow slope would be a good thing to do, because it wasn't in our plan, but would be a good road to pave. Okay, Brian.
I'd like you to elaborate a little bit on why that initial project that we had identified wasn't able to do, and it's a matter of record that I'd like you to articulate that, whether it's yourself or Jeff, some of the steps that we went to try to get it done, or and what the results were in our attempts to get it done and why that failed. Thank you.
I think Jeff would be the best one to speak to that issue. He was the one that had gone through the initial investigation on that.
I can elaborate a little bit on that for sure. We took a look at upgrading that section of road, Range Road 14-5, immediately adjacent to the city of Brooks, straight north of 12th Street West, from the city boundary north to basically the Bow Slope shipping yard where a previous paving project had terminated. One of the challenges that we encountered with this road, well, we obviously know that we have drainage issues, we have water sitting along the road base, and it's extremely detrimental to that piece of roadway. To facilitate an appropriate design of the road surface structure cross section, in conjunction with following our responsibilities with regards to the Water Act and environmental implications, we required additional right-of-way. I should back up a little bit. We always require additional right-of-way when we upgrade a road to a paved standard. In most cases, 30 meters is our objective. 40 meters in some cases may be even better, but we typically try to get that 30 meters. In this case, we looked at reducing the road standard. However, even with a reduced road standard, we still required that 30 meters, an additional 5 meters on each side of the existing government road allowance to facilitate drainage improvements and drainage ditches so that we could convey the water that has been a nuisance to us in the past, down the road allowance through a drainage network into an eastern irrigation district works drain, where we could then release it. Without building that drainage system, without acquiring that right of way, we would need to install a culvert under this road and allow the water to go through. But without the ability to capture that water and travel it to its final destination, that water would have kind of spilled free flowing through a neighboring property owner's parcel. And that's something we don't like doing. We don't want to do. We don't like changing drainage patterns, because obviously that gets environments involved and Water Act applications, and the goal is always to have runoff water end up in the same basin that it was currently traveling to. Situations that can't be taken care of like that require Water Act approvals and applications. So long story short, we approached the landowner that is the most necessary to construct this drainage ditch along the east side of Range Road 14.5. I met with that landowner probably a total of 4 times. We explained why we're doing the project, kind of where the money came from, what the goal behind the project was. Tried to explain some of the positives for the county, for the ratepayers in the area, for that land, that piece of land, how that opens up and unlocks opportunities for that land in the future. You know, we talked about it not affecting his existing irrigation setup and so on and so forth. And in the end, pretty much every meeting that we had is just that there was no interest in selling the land and more so increasing the traffic along that portion of Range Road 14.5 and how that might affect the existing operation there. So long story short is we were not able to negotiate that land purchase to acquire that additional 5 meters, and therefore it would be inappropriate for us to construct the road as designed and allow that new water to free flow through an agricultural piece of an adjacent landowner.
Thank you, Jeff, for that interesting information. Stay around. We're going to have to break for an 11 o'clock delegation because I see, I believe they are organized to join us online. And so we will move to item 8 on our agenda and welcome our guests from CNRL. I believe there's a number of them. I see some names, some familiar names, and not familiar names. So perhaps, Stuart, I'll let you take lead with this.
Thank you very much, and good morning, everybody. Today we have CNRL that has come to visit us, and I just want to give them a little bit of recognition just over their actions to help us out over the last couple of years. So today with us, I do believe we have Jim Aleman, Darren Cockerill, Dan Willard, and Curtis Sugar. They've all come to join us, and over the past 3 years, this group has generously donated to the County and Newell Fire Services. In 2019, they helped us out by getting a bunch of AFRAX radios organized and distributed to people. So they gave us a sizable donation for that. Last year, they pitched in and gave us a hand to help out with our wildland firefighting and some well-needed PPE that our county firefighters could use. And I've got a bit of a presentation that'll kind of explain that a little bit. And then finally this year they gave us some more donation money, and it really went a long way to help us with training of our firefighters, building off of last year with the wildland firefighting masks that we got, but we actually did wildland firefighting courses. I'm sure that most of council knows, but this year is our first year that we don't receive any grants from the province for firefighter training. So we're having to find different avenues. And when I approached Jim about this, and he asked if there was a need for anything within the County of Newell this year, I said that we certainly could use some assistance to get some training done. Every year, when we do our training, we typically do our basics, our 1001s, part 1, part 2, which gets them trained up in the basic firefighting world. And then we deal with a little bit of hazmat operations and awareness as well with that. And that's the basic firefighter training that we give our firefighters. And then there's over and above stuff that needs to be done or should be done. The grassland wildland firefighting course, NFPA 1051, it wasn't, the last time it was done in the County of Newell was way back in 2008. So it was definitely a course that was needed and well-deserved. And if it's okay with everybody, can I share my screen and share a bit of the presentation I have here, if that's all right with everybody?
Yeah, perhaps, Stuart, just before you do that,
Sure.
we'll just go around our council sort of table, but it's a screen, because there are some people that we're familiar with Jim and we're familiar with Curtis, but I don't remember if Darren has been with us before. And so we'll just do our introduction, starting with, well, I'll start with me because I'm talking, and I'm Molly Douglas. I am a councillor from the northern part of the county, Gem and Finnegan area, and also the Reeve. That's why I'm chairing the meeting. So welcome, gentlemen, and we'll go to give one from me.
You kind of broke up, Molly, but I think you said Div 1. And that's me, Clarence Amulong from Rolling Hills, and I represent the area known as Division 1, which is basically Rolling Hills.
Good morning, gentlemen. UB Callan, Division 2, Tillian District.
And Marie Philipson, we met yesterday. Thank you for coming in.
Wayne Hammergan, Division 4. Nice to have you here.
Tracy Fife, Division 5, which is south and west around the city of Brooks. Welcome and thanks for coming in today.
Good morning, gentlemen. I'm Kelly Chrisman. I'm from the west side of the county, around the town of Bassano.
I'm Ellen Unra, and I represent the countryside around the village of Rosemary, Division 7.
John, Div 8, Dutchess area.
Lionel Justin, Division 10. We met yesterday. I want to thank you again for your donation, and have a nice day.
And thank you especially to Lionel and Anne-Marie for representing us yesterday with the CNRL guys. So I don't know if anybody, well, I guess we'll turn it back to Stuart and we can hear from the CNRL guys in a while, I guess.
All right, perfect. Thank you very much, Reeve. Yeah, so I'm going to try and share my screen, and I hope it works out here this morning. Can everybody see that okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, perfect. So I'm just going to bring it up here, hopefully. There we go. So, so last year in 2020, County of Newell Fire Services, we responded, and just so everybody's aware, this presentation is for the benefit of, I guess, CNRL to show them how their money, where I'm concerned, was well spent, and of course to show the councillors the work that's going on within the County of Newell. So I don't have any part of the AFRAX portion of this, but last year's donation and this year's donation really ties into this grassland firefighting portion here. And back in last year, the County of Newell, we responded to multiple grass fires. As you can see in that picture there, that's actually one of our wildland firefighting training sessions. But you can see the amount of smoke and stuff that billows around there. So that was part of their donation last year that they used to put masks on firefighters' faces so that they don't have to breathe that smoke in and make things better. So grass fire in Alberta, of course, can be at any time. Typically for Alberta, it starts March 1st, goes into late fall. But I know myself personally, I've responded to calls even in December and January, where there's been no snow on the ground, and unfortunately an ember has gotten away and caught things on fire. So grass fires can happen almost at any time. So far this year, we've actually been very busy, and that over 20 calls can be somewhat skewed. I know that in the last week, Bassano has been out to the same location, I would say probably 4 times, I think it's been. And unfortunately, it was a CP rail incident where the rails caught on fire. Right down to last week, there was a incident over in Division 2 in the Tilly area, and the grass fire that happened there was actually right in the area of where some of CNRL's wells are, and it was on EID land. But from what I understand, the EID or CNRL gave a call to EID to let them know that there was a fire there. That fire in particular was unfortunately an act of God. It was a lightning strike, and the good news is it stayed contained to about 6 acres, and the reason for that was just a nice farmer that happened to be in the area, and he helped keep it at bay until Tilly Fire came out, and Rolling Hills Fire assisted to put that out. So we kept it down to 5 or 6 acres. So in this picture here, you can see the stuff that's around this. Yes, go ahead.
Could you make the picture big again for us? Your screen shared right to begin with, and it was full screen, but it went to small screen, and there's nice pictures that we'd like to be able to see better.
I'm going to go stop sharing and reshare because I'm not too sure why it did that.
I thought it might have been my screen that,
Yeah.
but apparently it's everybody's. So it'd be nice to have it.
Let me try it one more time here. Hopefully it works out okay. Yes, because I do want to share these pictures that have been done.
That's good right now.
Okay. So we just back up a little bit here. So there's a picture of the masks that were purchased, and we were able to get a mask in every firefighter's hands. And the way this works is that yellow mask it's a perforated cloth that's on the outside, but it actually has filter matter that's on the inside. And that filter matter is removable so that it can be thrown into a washing machine and cleaned, and then it's nice and clean for the next fire call. Because of course, as carbon gets into those masks, we don't want to keep breathing that in because eventually it just won't be effective for us at all. And if I move on to the next picture here, this is realism. This again is our wildland practical portion of the course up in the north. And we were creating a fire break around this well site that you see on the bottom corner, and you can see that unfortunately we train our firefighters to be out of the smoke, but they're definitely in the smoke here because sometimes there's not much we can do about that. So that's why we wanted to get those masks into the firefighters' hands so that we can protect their health the best that we possibly can. And CNRL, we thank you very much for giving that donation to us and doing that. So as I said earlier, in 2008 was the last time that the fire course had happened, and then and so we thought it was time for a new one, an up-to-date one, bigger and better, and actually the materials that we used this year were actually fresh and new as of 2019. So really, really good that we got the most up-to-date materials in our hands. And again, that was through the generous donation of CNRL to give us, to allow us to get those books into the firefighters' hands. So within the County of Newell, including the City of Brooks, we have 150 firefighters. And of those 150 firefighters, we sent out a call there in March and said, who's interested in doing the course? Got a fantastic response of 73 firefighters. And the good news at the end of the day, the 73 firefighters are all trained and ready to go within the firefighting, wildland firefighting world. So we've definitely made our county better and stronger with our firefighters. So in this picture here, what we did was, because of COVID, we couldn't have 73 firefighters all come together at the same time and do training. Plus, it just would have overwhelmed the 3 instructors within the county of Newell, which is myself, Kevin, and Barry. So we divided it up into 3 groups. The top group up top there is Bassano, Jem, Rosemary, and Duchess, and they all came together up at the Matsuin Creek, the U of A training farm up off of Highway 36 and the road that goes to Jem. I apologize, 560 I think is that highway. So we went in there, and they had some really good dead foliage, windrows, and things like that that helped us to do it. And you'll see those pictures in just a second. And then the following week, we went down into the Tilly area, and we had a private farmer give us 65 acres that we could work with and play with. And again, you'll see some pictures there. And then the last week is the City of Brooks crew that's down below there, and we did that just adjacent to the airport, just to the south. So and there was the JBS plant donated. I think it was a 45-acre parcel there for us to work with and play with. So as we move along, that's just a picture of the apparatus in the north. So this operation here, and I hope it's going fluently for you and not stopping and starting. But what we're doing is we're creating a fire break around that well site that you just saw there. And you can see that we got that nice black line going around. The whole object to it is those long windrows that you see right there in the picture right now, we're actually going to light those on fire. And we want to make sure that, as you can see, that tall foliage that's in there, we don't want that to catch fire and then get onto the well site. So we created that break all the way around to ensure that that wouldn't happen. And as we kept on going, this was a result. It's already burnt up. It looks like about good 30 feet of the 200-foot rows that were in place there. And we did have a really good fire going. And folks, I'm not going to lie to you, I was a little bit nervous because I knew that this would make a really intense fire. And with the dry conditions that are out there right now, which is the reason we have the fire restriction on within the county of Newell, I was worried that it could be a runaway and get away from us. The good news was, I apologize for all this little extra stuff. The good news is, with that, the wind wasn't that great. The fire went straight up, and we never had any issues. The fire went from one side to the other and went out as it should. We created our fire breaks that we should have, and it was a good exercise with the guys using the different tools and equipment. So this was the following week in Tilly area, and we had Tilly, Scandia, Rolling Hills, and in on this one. And they all came together on a 65 parcel of land. And again, you can see us creating that nice fire break. And as we pan off to the left here in 2 seconds, you'll see that well where we actually created a good fire break right around that little well site there. And that was because eventually we're going to light that field on fire. And again, we don't want to get the well on site. So here's some good realization showing the tools that we used and we purchased. And yes, a leaf blower, as you can see, works very, very effectively of pushing the fire back onto the black and actually putting it out. The coveralls that that firefighter is wearing there from Rolling Hills are the Nomex fire protection coveralls, and it's just to make it easier. I apologize, I thought I muted me screaming and barking at people there, but our deputy chief in Tilly has a drone that he uses for doing land surveys and stuff like that. So he actually put it up in the air, and you can see this parcel that we burnt. And if we look to the right-hand side there, you can see that black edge that we put there. Well, we actually walked around the whole perimeter of that little section there, and we made sure that that black edge was that wide. And again, that was just to ensure that that fire stayed within the area. And eventually what happens is that fire just carried across and I'm on the far side there in the black on the stuff that's burnt already, and I have a bunch of firefighters there, and on how fire travels, how it fingers out, and things like that. So, and so that was within the County of Newell. I didn't include any of the City of Brooks because they're kind of on their own, but they definitely were part of this course, part of this generous donation that CNRL gave to us, and I thank them very much for that donation. And I want to thank Jim and his crew for all the support that your group gives to the County of Newell and the fire service. Because of your generous donations from year to year, it allows us to able to make the firefighters better, stronger, and through your donation, it allows us to get these little extra pieces of equipment that keep our firefighters safer and, more importantly, healthier, because they're not breathing that smoke in. It also allows us to give the firefighters the extra training over and above the standard basic firefighter training that we do on a regular basis. So, you know, I'm sure the councillors would echo the same thing as I am, but thank you very much for all the continued help that you give to us from year to year. With that, Reeve, I will hand it over to you, and maybe Jim and his group if they want to say something.
Yes. Thank you very much, Stuart, for that. That was great. And of course, a huge thank you to CNRL for their interest and their support, their donation support for our firefighters in the county. And this is a rather unusual day to be talking fires with a little bit of a snowstorm happening, but it's great you're here. So, Jim, perhaps I'll hand it over to you if you'd like to say anything, or Curtis or Darren.
Thanks for having us. We're always glad to give money back, and we don't even really see it as a donation. It's more of an investment in the community, because we all live and work in the same place, and with CNRL having so many wells in the area, thousands and thousands of wells within the county, it's really an investment in the community, because you guys help us out a lot with fires and stuff in the prairie and protecting our wells too, like Stuart was showing. So yeah, it's really good to invest back into the community.
Thanks, Darren. Anybody else from CNRL want to speak?
Yeah, it's Jim here. I'd just like to reiterate what Darren said. I think it's we consider each other neighbors and working in this together. And I just want to thank the County of Newell Council and staff for the partnership or neighborly work we've been doing together through the years.
And thank you, Jim. You're sort of have become the face of CNRL to us, as well as Curtis. We're quite familiar with Curtis too. So yeah, we do need to work together always. So anyone else from CNRL? Doesn't look like anyone's rushing to unmute. They're not even rushing to show us their faces.
Curtis was busy, or he would have joined today.
Okay, Curtis isn't. I just assumed he'd be here because he usually is. But well, thank you, gentlemen. Really nice to touch base with you, and hoping that the next time we get together, it'll be in person for sure. And yeah, just thank you for your interest in our county, and we appreciate your kindness.
Thanks for having us.
You betcha. Thanks, Stuart.
Thank you.
Anything else from council before I let these folks run away? Hubie?
Thanks, Molly. Stuart, the drone you said you were using, that would be very effective in seeing if the fires jump into different locations. So I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, I've often thought a drone would be an excellent tool, not just to assist with wildland firefighting, but you can see as it gets up there, you can see how the fire moves and it's traveling and stuff like that. So definitely would be of an assist. Even on structure fires, it's invaluable. I've seen different videos of that, and there has been thought on that. But at the end of the day, we're so busy putting the fire out. Who's going to operate that drone? That's the biggest thing. The MP of Tabor, they actually do a fantastic job where they have it's kind of like an independent person that will actually come out on a call and put their drone up in the air and show pictures and videos of it as they go. So definitely that's an option that could be out there. So yeah.
Thank you, Stu.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Anne-Marie?
Stuart, will the fire restrictions be lifted soon, today?
That's a really good question. I know that I've had a couple phone calls even this morning. It's snowing out, it's wet out, can we burn? And I said, unfortunately, there's a restriction on right now, and it's not just that easy for me to do that because I do it in conjunction with my fire chiefs. What I did say, just because we have some moisture coming in for today, I thought I would reach out to the fire chiefs today and find out that if they're comfortable with lifting it, but you know, it could be really short-lived. You know, if we go back to Monday and it's plus 30 and it was windy and things are drying out really, really bad because of that. And then again on, was it Tuesday or Wednesday? Tuesday, I think it was. Again, a very, very windy day, things are drying out. So this little bit of moisture really isn't it's putting some moisture into the ground, but we need to have sustained over a long period of time. I liked it about a couple weeks ago when we had that misty rain that happened basically all weekend. That was fantastic. And if we could have that a little more often, I think we would be able to do it. But at the end of the day, I do think I'm going to send out to the fire chiefs here before I leave for lunch and ask them that question, if maybe we want to lift the ban for a little while here, back to an advisory, and then it'll allow people, in particular like the landfill that's really chomping to get some of their stuff burnt, because people from spring cleaning have dropped a bunch of stuff off and they need to get their pits cleaned out. So I understand that it's not just farmers, but it's industry that needs to have that happen as well. So I'll send it out, and at the end of the day, I can send a quick note to council to see what their decision was on that. Okay.
Thanks, Stuart. And of course, different things could be happening in different places around the county too. When I left, I came into the county office this morning and there was nothing. There was no moisture at our place at all. It was just a gray, dreary morning, but I think it's begun now. But it's a big county, isn't it?
It is a big county. I think the one thing that I really liked about a couple of weeks ago, with those accurate weather stations that I have in all the different areas within the county, I can actually sit in my lounge chair Sunday afternoon and look and see what the accumulation has been over the last 48, 72 hours. And it was really interesting to see a couple of weeks ago that really the whole county of Newell tended to get water, other than unfortunately, Molly, in your area, your internet isn't the greatest there, and I haven't had connection with my weather station there in some time. And I don't know if that's maybe a grasslands issue because they're not operating the library, so maybe the Wi-Fi isn't there as well, or something like that. But I've been out there twice over the last 2 weeks trying to reset everything, and it's to no avail. So unfortunately, I don't really know what's going on in the far north, but That's okay. It gives me a general idea as close as of Rosemary to know what's happening. So
Sometimes it's best not to know what's going on in the far north anyhow.
all right.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen. We will move away from our item, our CNRL item, and go to item 12.1. Thank you for coming, everyone else, and have a good day. We're at item 12.1, funding request, capital funding request from the Bassano Curling Club. And we always are happy when someone comes to represent their requests. So Kim Douglas is with us this morning. And I guess we'll do some, Kim, just by any chance, were you on the whole CNRL conversation? No, okay. Well, we'll do some introductions because that's what we do when we have guests, so they sort of know who's at our table, and all of our council is here today. And obviously I don't need to introduce myself to you because we do share the same last name and we are connected, so I won't be saying as much today as I might be saying some days at this presentation. So we'll move on to our Div 1 counselor to introduce himself. We'll go around our table and then also with our staff. Kim.
Good morning, Kim. Clarence Amelin, Rolling Hills.
Good morning, Kim. Hubie Callum, Division 2 in Tilly area.
Hi, Kim. Anne-Marie Phillipson, Patricia Millicent area.
Good morning, Kim. It's Wayne Hammerton from Division 4, which is Scandia, Rainier, and Bow City.
Hi, Kim. Tracy Fife, Castles, Antelope Creek, south and west around the City of Brooks.
Morning, Kim. Your peas are growing.
I'm Ellen Andra and I represent Division 7 around the village of Rosemary.
Morning, Kim.
Morning, Kim. Lionel Jess, Div 10, which is north and east of Brooks.
Great. That's all of the council, and we have some staff with us today. Our Big Cheese, Matt, do you want to introduce yourself?
Kim, I'm Matt Fensky, the County Administrator. Welcome.
And we also have our medium-sized cheese, Lane Johnson.
Hi there, Kim. Lane Johnson, Director of Corporate Services. I think we've been in touch previous.
And that's probably everyone that you might have been in contact with or who would be speaking today to this item. So we'll let Matt introduce the item, and then Kim, if you have anything to add, you can do it after that. And there'll be questions perhaps from council. Matt.
Good morning, Council, Madam Reeve. So we received a letter from the Bassano Curling Club requesting council support and spending approval of just under $25,000 to replace their very old, very well used evaporative condenser. The total cost of the condenser is just over $127,000, of which the club has been fundraising and saving towards. They've got just over $78,000 set aside for that. They've also put in grant funding applications to a number of programs and have another few fundraising efforts in the works. What they're looking for from the council, both from the town and the county, is a commitment to really backstop any funding shortfall up to the $48,000 left that they have to fundraise or where they've submitted grant applications for. In our ICF agreement with the town, we have agreed to entertain capital requests on a case-by-case basis and those would be funded 50-50 from both the town and the county. I did touch base with the CAO at the town, and this item will be on their agenda for their June 14th meeting. If council entertains the request, our share would be just under 25,000 and would be proposed to be funded from the recreation fund. I'm sure Kim can address any of your more specific questions that you may have.
Thanks, Matt. Kim, did you have anything you want to add, or do you want to just answer some questions that anyone has? And you have to unmute.
Oh, did it work?
Yes, you're
Okay.
with us.
I'm new to this Zoom stuff, so bear with me. Just that we really needed to, we just wanted some backing if the grants were to fall through. When I've talked to them, they seem fairly positive. But in order to go ahead for the next season, we needed to get the ball moving and get the condenser ordered, and that's kind of why we came to you for backing so that we could move ahead right away. And I can try and answer questions if you have any.
Brian.
So I guess it's just a matter of clarification for me. It looks to me like you basically have all your fundraising in place and you really just need some backing to get this project going in the event that some of the granting doesn't come through. And so if that's correct, I think it's incredible that what you've done, what you put forward here, really is, and I think I speak for council, is that we're looking for these partnerships where the groups that are going to benefit from it are actually willing to put some money into it. And I commend you on that and for the extent of what you've gone through to raise this money. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Yes, yeah. If the grants all come through, we will have more than enough money to finish the project on our own. It was just that the last grant wouldn't be known till November, so we were wanting to go ahead, like I said, commit to it now so that the project would be done for the start of the season.
Other questions? Kelly, Tracy?
Thanks for coming on today, Kim. It's always nice that you're so willing and able to support this organization. We all know you're totally capable. My question, if you could speak a little bit to the age of the plant. I know you put in your letter that it was in the 1980s, but am I correct in saying that it was not new in the 1980s? It was moved from our old curling rink as well?
It was moved from the old curling rink, so that's 25 years ago. And then about 4 years ago, we put almost $100,000 into it because of the converting from ammonia. So there has been parts of it that were upgraded. And the problem was that the compressor wasn't big enough, so that was putting the extra strain on the condenser. And then the water just keeps going through, so you're not recycling the water, just because of the way they kind of jimmy-rigged it to work with the old parts and everything. So if we do this condenser upgrade, the utilities, the water usage will be cut. And also he says there's a 25-year lifespan expected on this new condenser. So we shouldn't have to put any more money into it for quite a few years.
And just a follow up, if I may, Madam Reeve, you've been hit with COVID, of course. Tell us about the curling participation in Bassano up until COVID hit. Of course, that would take things out of reality, right?
Right. No, we were making a comeback. We had so many more people interested. We had we're in the midst of a bond spill when COVID hit and had to shut the bond spill down halfway through, and we had over 30 teams in that bond spill, and that hadn't happened in 15 years in Bassano. So there's a huge Sterling League, which is the seniors. There's about 30 teams that participate in that, and they had held 2 bond spills in a year, which is unheard of. So we were really making a comeback and had lots of kids involved, and we're really positive about everything. And then COVID hit and kind of screwed everything up. But just, I should say too, another thing was we do have money set aside. The money we have set aside is just strictly for this condenser. We do have enough money set aside for operating costs. We've held back money anticipating that we're not going to get another casino for probably 3 years now, because we managed to squeak in a casino just the 2 weeks before COVID hit. So we're good on our operating costs. We're not going to have to pull back any of this money that's set aside.
That's great additional information. Thank you.
Tracy and Anne-Marie?
I think it's remarkable, all the things you're doing. Can you tell me just about your actual curling club? Like, you have a board, or like how many people are involved? Because you seem to be doing great things, and I just would like a little bit more information on that aspect.
Okay, we have 4 board members and 8 directors, and about 80 active members when that was back when, before COVID hit. And we thought that just before COVID hit, if we would have been able to finish out those last 2 bond spills, we thought we would have brought in at least 500 different people to use the facility or view or at some point in the year. We work with the school as well. They have quite a program for the kids. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you. That's amazing. Good work.
Anne-Marie and Clarence?
I really don't have a question, Kim. Just thank you for coming in. And this is exactly an application the way I envisioned it. We need to have partners. We need to have a good explanation of the project. And applying for grants, you did it all right. And so thank you. Good job.
Thank you.
Clarence?
Definitely good job. I guess just a bit of clarification. So this is, you're asking for bridge funding. Is that correct? If the grants all come through, you have enough money. So how do we work that? If grant money comes through, county's given money, the town is given money, do municipalities get it back, or are we, how do you envision that? And the other part of it is, if it is known that this money is available, does it disenhance your chances of success of getting the grant money? Because lots of times, when you apply for something, you have to say, what are your other sources of funds? If there are other sources of funds, you don't get the grant. Like, how do we work that? To me, it's a bit of a puzzle.
I guess when I applied for the grants, I did not say that we had come to you asking for money. What I'm asking, I'm counting on the money. What I'm asking from you is a guarantee that if we were to say, go ahead, tell the contractor now that we would go ahead with the project. If something were to happen and the funding was to fall through or any shortfall, then I would be asking that the town and county cover it. I mean, and the other thing is we are still fundraising continuously as we go along. So actually asking for the 48,000 between the town and the county, it's already less than that, you know, because we have other things going on. I guess we need a guarantee that we will have those extra funds if the two major grants fall through. Does that answer?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Other questions? Kelly?
No question, Madam Reeve. Kudos to this executive that have done the work, and I would like to make a motion to guarantee the $24,429.50 funded from the Recreation Fund be a backstop for them so that they could proceed with ordering the evaporative condenser. Option 1, basically.
Thanks, Kelly. Any further discussion? Clarence?
You know, I have no problem with this, but I think the county has to get their own act together a little bit. We've got another request coming up, and it's going to be different. And I'm wondering if we shouldn't be talking more into more of a policy on this thing. And what I was thinking to treat everybody fairly. Maybe it's something, and I know that the next, and I don't want to get the two confused, but you can't get the two confused. That was a 1/3, 1/3, 1/3, and I'm kind of wondering if we shouldn't be looking at something like when we are dealing with two municipalities and we're dealing with folks that are doing their own fundraising, which we very much want to see, because that gets buy-in and that makes the process available. If we shouldn't have a policy with something of the nature where if the groups raise 50% and we're dealing with other municipalities, whether it be Dutchess or Bassano, that we split that 50-50. So, and that's kind of where this is at, but I'm just wondering if that's not something that we should be looking at for capital. So I'm a little hesitant to approve this at the moment before we have the discussion following, in hopes that we can get some kind of a philosophy where we treat everybody kind of the same when it comes to capital expenditures. To give Kim some comfort, I certainly don't want to see this project go by the wayside, but I think sometimes we don't have our own act together on what we should be funding and how we should be funding, and we've been struggling with that. So maybe this is a perfect time to get something in place. And I have a feeling that this will be approved, but is it then we deal with the next one and it's a totally different type of situation? And do we want to treat them differently, or do we want to have a constant funding arrangement? I think that's something that council has to answer for me. So I'm sorry to throw a wrench into the motion, but I think we have to take some other steps before we put a vote to this.
Thanks, Clarence. Anne-Marie?
Each application will be different, Clarence, from now on. But I think when we had an application when there was no money from the applying group, that was the Tilly group, it was clear to us that that's not the route we wanted to take. We wanted people to have an invested interest. And I think that's what we have here. But if a group comes up with 75% of the money and asks the two municipalities to split the 25 that's left over, that's fine with me. Another group could come and say, well, we have 40% raised. Will you two do the other 60? And then depending on the project, like that might be acceptable to us too. I think it's going to be really difficult to put a policy in place that will work for each application.
Thanks, Anne-Marie. Wayne?
The thing is, as Kim has told us, they have a very well-run organization. They have a lot of members. They're very active members. This is an organization that I'm sure the county wants to support. That all goes into what, if somebody brings a request to us, this is part of the scenario also that we have to look at. And to me, this curling club has done everything right, and I think we should be supporting it.
Clarence?
I'm not saying we shouldn't support it. I'm just saying that we should be treating everybody relatively the same way. And you know, these people have basically got their total funding in order. They've got a path there, but it's a time element here. But you know, I just think when we start judging this on a long-term basis and having a philosophy on capital expenditures for recreation within the county, I think it's very important that people know what they can expect. We had somebody who had no money. We have somebody now which has basically a path to all their money. We're going to get another one just in a little while, which is maybe a third. And I don't know if that's what our residents want, is different treatment from different folks. And if we all agree that there has to be some money in from the groups that are coming to us, and to make it fair for everyone, I think we should have a policy on that. And we struggle when it's because we have different situations where we're totally county and we have half and half, we have other municipalities involved in other situations. And I'm just saying, maybe there is a light here where we can say, okay, if there's another municipality involved, the organizing folks have to raise 50%, and we do the other 50% on a half and half basis with the other municipality. We're going to have this discussion time and time again until we make that policy. And there's going to be hard feelings when one comes and we approve one and the next guy gets a better deal. And that's what I'm trying to avoid.
Kelly, did you have your hand up?
Yes, thank you. With all due respect, through the chair, I do agree ultimately with your line of thinking. In the perfect world, that would be awesome. As you know, because you were involved with for example, the Duchess ICF or the recreation agreement, that agreement is different than all the rest right there. So I think that if we look at this application and the merits of it as they are presented to us today, that we can see clear to approving this grant, and take note of your comments. But I do think that we need to support this organization and allow them that guarantee to move forward and hopefully get the curlers back in the rink come next winter. Just my thoughts. Look forward to working on the policy as well. Thank you.
Wayne, did I see your hand?
I agree with Clarence that we should have some policy set up. And I think Lane has that committee where and we can get a lot of information for when he delivers that report to us. But right now, the Bassano Curling Club needs this guaranteed money to start proceeding with these repairs because they want to start their season next fall. So I think we should go ahead with this.
I'm trying not to say too much today on this. However, I do believe that if this set a precedent today with this one, it wouldn't be a bad thing. It would be an amazing thing. So I mean, this is a unique application that may cost us nothing. So really has very little to do with policy. So I can see the exception for this, that it's really outside the policy, if there was a policy. Clarence.
And how is the curling club going to feel when our policy is richer than what they're getting today? And that's
there's no reason they could not come back to us. This is a guarantee. Am I frozen? Can people hear me? Oh, good. This is not the same in my mind as what we will be ultimately coming up with. So I see it as it's outside of policy. Does that make sense, Clarence?
I want this thing to go through. But I also don't want them to have to spend more than what is necessary. If we're going to have a richer policy come this afternoon, maybe.
We cannot we address that at the time, if need be?
Okay, I guess if you're willing to do that.
Just a thought. Hubie?
It'll be coming out of the Recreation Capital Fund, right? The reserve?
That's correct. Any further discussion on this? I'm going to call the question, and all in favor of the motion to do this? Opposed? Motion is carried. So that means that the money will be there if the curling club needs it, Kim, from the county of Newell anyhow. So the town of Bassano will have their decision to make still. Thank you for coming in, and thank you for listening to how difficult these decisions have become. And we, as Clarence is absolutely right, we have to get our act together and try and come up with some policy. And that hasn't occurred yet. We've been waiting on some information from our own communities, our hamlet communities, rather, as well as our other municipalities that we're working with. And so we do have another application from Dutchess today as well. So it's interesting times. We're soon going to have the information. I believe, Lane, you're getting closer to wrapping that process up, correct?
We had our last meeting 2 weeks ago and anticipate having a final report for council possibly on the 10th of June. If not, it's going to be the 24th.
Good. So you will be hearing more about recreation in the county of Newell, probably, Kim, but in the meantime, you can rest assured that you can go ahead with your project. I like your you to tell us a little bit about the fundraising. How long has it taken your group to come up with this money? Because I recall a big fundraiser a couple of years ago. So this hasn't been a slow process.
No, it's been probably 4 years we started actively doing it and had 2 big fundraisers, and then we just keep plugging along. You know, lots of times you don't even want to look at the smaller ones that, you know, a raffle for a couple thousand, but when you do a couple thousand here and a couple thousand there, and all of a sudden you have 10 to put away, and we just keep plugging away and pulling money out when we can and setting it aside. And I mean, and think we already did spend 100,000 3 years ago. So it's, I spend a lot of time on the internet looking for grants, and, you know, you get the odd one, 5,000 here, and little things, write letter, you know, takes you an hour to come up with a good letter and send it off to a chemical company or an oil company, and all of a sudden you've got another 5,000. And it would be handy if we could share all the grants and information amongst the communities, you know, where there's funding available when things come up. I think the town is doing that a little with the extra staff they've hired. She's kind of been earmarked for funding avenues. Yeah, you just keep going. But I want to thank you for having me today, and I hope I answered your questions, and thank you so much for supporting us. And I honestly hope we don't have to dip into your funds, and that everything falls in place and we'll be good to go without having any assistance.
Thanks, Kim. One quick last question. Have you been able to do any fundraising through the COVID year?
We did a 50-50 online 50-50, and that was almost $2,000. And we've got a local farmer donated a half a pig, so it's cut and wrapped. We're going to be doing another raffle here in the next month and doing the town cleanup. And I think, and we did another 50-50. Oh, we did an online silent auction when COVID first hit, when were shut down with the bond spills. We did an online silent auction that raised a few $1,000s too. So, and a few grants that came through.
I was just curious, just wondered how that's been. All right. Well, thank you for joining us today.
All right. Thank you. Take care, all.
You betcha. All right, Council. We will break for lunch till what time, folks?
12:45.
12:45. Thanks, Hubie. We'll go with that. I'll see you then.